you very much indeed. It is a great pleasure to serve under your chairmanship, Mr. Pritchard, and also to congratulate the Member of Parliament for Congleton for calling this debate, and for the 9 other speakers who have spoken with great passion about the potential of their constituents, their constituencies, and the role that this rather obscure topic of the Green Book review can play in seeking to unlock that potential. I should maybe just note that they did spare the blushes of the Chancellor when she was announcing this review to unlock the potential of which they are so hopeful, that she did so whilst announcing further growth measures in the south and southeast of the country. That goes to show the difficulties there are in achieving some of the objectives, which the Honourable Member for Mid-Cheshire was kind enough to say were the intentions of the 2020 review about levelling up this country. And I am perhaps an ironic choice, Mr. Pritchard, for responding. If I may stretch your tolerance to just mention some things that are focused on my area of the country. I represent North Bedfordshire. But just to give some sense to honourable members here of the disparities, let me just enumerate for them some of the growth potential projects going on in my county. We are already growing at 2.5 times the national average in terms of housing growth. We have a proposal for a solar farm, which will be 7 times the size, this is my constituency, 7 times the size of the largest one in the country. We have the country's largest road project at Black Cat Roundabout on the A1. We have a proposal for a railway line, which will be the 3rd largest railway construction project in the country. We have a doubling of the capacity of Luton Airport to bring people into the country, and we are waiting, when the Treasury finally pulls its finger out, a potential £10 billion investment for Europe's theme park from Universal Studios, which will then start a whole new range of investment potential in the south. So the Honourable Member for Congleton has the right person responding for this side to answer some of her points, because frankly, that's too much for one area to take at one time. The 2020 review mentions some points which have been repeated today. It said as they looked at the allegations were systematic bias towards London South East, the tyranny of benefit cost ratios, overlooked unmonetised benefits, no allowance for transformational or other complex effects, and guidance was responsible for strategic policy faults, and no focus of where, of or by whom effects are felt. These have been echoed today. I have to say to honourable members that the findings were that there were no systematic methodological biases in the process, but there were significant problems in understanding of the Treasury 5-case model, leading to significant poor practice in the application of the Green Book, and there have been some changes that have been made as a result of that. I thought, because honourable members would raise this issue about the disparities in expenditure, whether those changes had any effect. And so I went to the Public Expenditure Statistical Analysis 2024 Table 9.4b, which enumerates the public expenditure on services per head in real pounds between regions. And it splits that between current expenditure and capital expenditure, which is the focus of today's debate. I have to tell honourable ladies and gentlemen that if you look at those statistics from the year 2018-2019 to 2022-2023, the East real capital per head went down by 3%, real capital per head in the South East went down by 5%. Real capital head in London did go up by 20%, but it went up by 25% in the North West, 25% in the North East, 24% in the West Midlands, and 22% in the East Midlands. My point being, I'm very short of time, I'm afraid. I'd love to, but very short of time, and I know him, he won't give me any more time. Chair won't give me any more time. I just point that out, that this is not to say everything is done, but it is important for us to build on the progress that I think is being made. There is a lot more commonality here than perhaps we think. And I would just also add that the view that the BCR is an answer, and that take focus as the answer, I think is incorrect. Because East West Rail, my constituency, going through my constituency, has a BCR of 0.3. It loses money, but the Treasury still wants to push ahead with it. That's a question for the Treasury. And I would say that for us, we don't understand what those benefits may be, because when it goes into the other benefits, there isn't sufficient quantification of what those benefits may be for people. My final point to the Minister, because I've only got a little time, there's got some questions I will send to him, but can he also look at the implementation of the Social Value Act? Because getting that done is really hard for small businesses and social enterprises in particular.
Minister, and the Minister, just to remind you, I'm sure he knows, has 10 minutes, so if he wants to leave a minute also on the end for the move of the motion. Thank you. It's entirely up to him. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr Pritchard. It's a pleasure to have you overseeing us today, and like everybody else, I congratulate the member for Congleton on securing this debate. I also thank all honourable members for setting out their views, the views which are in of themselves important contributions to the Green Book review that His Majesty's Treasury is undertaking and which is our focus this afternoon. Before I respond to the specific points raised, I should spell out what the Green Book is and what it is for. The Green Book is a technical guidance on how to assess the costs and benefits, the opportunities and the risks of different options to achieve government objectives. It is not a decision-making algorithm or a test that must be passed. It is a framework for identifying and assessing different options. It is an important framework, but as lots of honourable members have rightly pointed out, should be just one input to decision-making. It is ultimately for government, national and regional, held to account in this place, in our case, to decide on policy objectives and to decide on spending choices. And we mustn't evade our responsibilities behind technical frameworks. Now, this government has listened to the concerns raised about that framework, concerns from our mayors, including my friend Stephen Rotherham, and from honourable members who are here today. And that's exactly why the Chancellor announced a review in January, to ensure that all regions get a fair hearing when it comes to the allocation of public funds. The review is looking at potential problems with the guidance itself, as well as how that guidance is being applied by the Treasury and how it's being applied by other departments or public bodies. And since January, the Treasury has been in conversations with a whole range of organisations and individuals, regional and national. And as I said, this very debate today offers the opportunity for us to hear the well-considered views and perspectives of members. And I want to assure all members that what they have said today will have been heard in the Treasury and will influence that review as it's finalised ahead of the spending review in June. Now, the frustration many people feel on this subject is entirely understandable. It is rooted ultimately not in technical questions about cost-benefit analysis, but in unacceptable outcomes, not least flatlining wages for the UK as a whole over the past decade and a half, and for some areas abandoned during the 1980s and sidelined during the 2010s for far, far longer. The frustration is understandable too when low investment manages to combine both being the cause of this economic decline, but also a visible sign that it is taking place, not least when our roads are riddled with potholes, our trains, whether they are pacers or not, are unreliable, and our housing stock is deeply inadequate. Public, not to mention private investment, has simply been far too low for far too long, and it is too often not reached every part of the country, as the Honourable Member for Warrington South set out, and as any rail user in Wales, and particularly in Swansea, where the electrification does not reach our great city, will tell you. Now, for this government, growth in every part of the country is the goal, because Britain is scarred by deep regional inequalities that the Honourable Member for Crewe and Nantwich set out eloquently. Now, shared growth is the goal, and higher investment is a necessary, if not sufficient, condition for it. That is why we have ended the public investment boom and bust cycle, with £113 billion higher investment this Parliament, sustaining public investment at levels not seen since the 1970s. We will work side by side with our mayors and local leaders, devolved governments, to support all regions to achieve their potential, investing for the long term in the infrastructure, transport and housing needed to ensure all parts of the UK benefit from growth. We are supporting empowered local leadership with the publication of the English devolution bill that the Honourable Member for Congleton mentioned, and we are moving away from the short-termist competitive approach to local funding so we can instead support local leaders to drive growth in their areas, including implementing this month the first integrated settlements for Greater Manchester and the West Midlands Combined Authorities ahead of rollout to other mayoral areas. We are investing in economic infrastructure across the country. We are committed to the Trans-Pennine upgrade, the largest investment in the Northern Rail for decades, with a further £415 million announced last week. We are backing West Yorkshire mass transit, and £4.8 billion for the strategic rail network will deliver critical road schemes across the country. We're working with Doncaster Council and the Mayor of South Yorkshire on their plans to reopen South Yorkshire Airport. there are places outside the northwest which will also classify themselves as the north and feel left out by this discussion today. So I'm getting some of those in too. And we'll set out further details of our plans for infrastructure across the whole of the UK in the 10-year infrastructure strategy to be published in June. Now, turning to the specific questions raised by members, the honourable members for Leon Atherton and Hazel Grove both rightly noted that we must care about a wider range of social factors, including deprivation, when making investment decisions. They are both right. The honourable member for Congleton also raised the issue of consultants. This is an issue that is emerging again in the current review that is underway. And of course, while there are times when the use of consultants is value for money, more does need to be done to improve the capacity of local government in this area and on national government to ensure that the asks of them are proportionate and sensible. Members, including the members for Cramlington and Killingworth, have made a powerful case for specific projects, including transport projects in particular. I'm sure they will continue to bend the ears of each and every Department for Transport Minister, or in some cases the Mayor of Greater Manchester, where that is the appropriate decision maker. And I'm glad to hear that everybody recognised that that should happen within important public spending constraints.